Welcome to Switch Comics. My name is Marco, and today I have a little discussion piece for you. Little opinions, I got little facts packed in there too, but today's topic is how much does the cover factor into the price of a book? And we're also going to be kind of talking about first full appearance versus first cover appearance and stuff like that. Comparing some books, and also talking about, because in my opinion, I think the cover appearance, and also just covers in general, doesn't have to be first cover appearance, but just a beautiful cover. I think those kind of books are rising in value at a rate into which possibly, don't misquote me here, but you may see in the future first cover appearances being much more sought after than first full appearances. Obviously, there's definite stipulations and rules, and if it's one thing, if it's two, it's the next issue or something, but it's another thing if it's 20 issues apart or something. Or obviously there's a lot of books that's the first cover appearance and first appearance and stuff like that. But we're gonna go ahead, and I got some examples and things I want to talk about. Obviously I want to hear your opinions on it. There's lots of other examples than books that I won't get to today, but we're gonna go ahead and talk about. So I'm a big fan of Man-Thing. I think he's a super cool character. And when I wanted to get a slab for Man-Thing, his first appearance is in a Conan book. I can't remember the name of it now. And it's a very expensive good book, don't get me wrong. It's definitely the most expensive Man-Thing book. That being said, the cover has nothing to do with Man-Thing. And so when I wanted a Man-Thing book for my collection, that just wasn't it. Now, granted, sure, if I found it one day and it was a good price, I might still be interested in picking it up. But it was not the number one book for me to go to. The one that I actually ended up picking up was Adventure into Fear number 10. And this is his first cover appearance. While not being my favorite Man-Thing art, it is really cool. I do like it a lot. I love the big, Man-Thing title, and even it's kind of goofy. I don't know what that's, Cry Monster. But I love the aesthetic of this book, and to me, this is the definitive comic to get for a Man-Thing collector. Now, value-wise, this does not compare at all to that Conan book. But that being said, I think there's a lot more collectors, getting into the, and again, keep this in mind as well. Again, I'm only a little bit over a year into collecting comics, so I don't have any nostalgia to this or that or things of old, especially, all these books that are, came out way before I was even born. I think older collectors, especially people that grew up and had that comic when they were younger, they're like, oh man, I remember reading that, and maybe that was their first introduction to Man-Thing, was reading that book when they were younger, and maybe that means a lot more to them personally. For me though, I hadn't read either book. I just wanted a cool Man-Thing comic. I looked at different covers and stuff, and this is the one that was like, yes, this is the one I have to add to my collection. Now, granted, I've added some other ones. I think Man-Thing Volume 2 is a beautiful, beautiful cover. Probably one of my favorite covers for Man-Thing. But that being said, I think there's a lot more collectors, and new collectors specifically, that when they're getting into it, they'll, find whatever their favorite character is. And if their first appearance doesn't have them on the cover, I think they may be less inclined to want to buy that book, is my point on on there. Another example here, I love Hela. She's super cool. I think her costume in the comics is it's super simplistic but amazing. And I think she was amazing in the movie, and I had to get a Hela comic. Now, granted, I have it now, but first I picked up Thor 150. Sorry, not Thor 50, but Thor 150, because it's their first cover appearance, and it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I love this book so much. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous book. However, I've had that one for a little while now, and I fairly recently picked up her first appearance, which is in Journey to Mystery 102. And I only picked this one up because someone hit me up, and they had it for a good price, and I was like, sure. Mainly, honestly, Yes, because it is first Hella. That's really cool. I didn't have any Journey into Mystery books. I'm a big Thor fan. So it's pretty cool. Now, but if I had to pick, if I could only have one book between the two, Thor 150 is the winner. As cool as having a Journey into Mystery book is, that is such a beautiful cover. And again, like, the reason I want the book is for Hela. So I want to show off Hela. Now, granted, also keep in mind, we don't live in a world where I have to have only one. So what's really cool is having them next to each other. That being said, maybe you don't have that much money you can only pick one book or whatever it is. For me, Thor 150 is going to be the winner. And it was the winner, like I said, until I just happened to get a pretty good price on that Journey into Mystery. And then I wanted to show off an example of... This is a book that, to me, is a big key, and there's other factors into it other than the cover. From what I've heard, there's a large print run on this book and different things like that. But I gotta say, cover has to play a factor, because there's lots of other books with huge print runs that end up going for lots of money because it's very desirable still. So, despite that being said, I want to talk about Avengers Annual number 10, the first appearance of Rogue. And by all accounts, Rogue is a big X-Men character, especially in regards to the movies. The originals anyway was a big part. I remember really liking that character, and I think was one of the characters that also helped to flagship the series. It helped to cement and create a little bit of these problems that felt genuine and human and gave us that connection. And she was a great pair alongside Wolverine and stuff like that. And with that being said, no offense, I don't mean to attack, and I really try to not be super negative on people, but man, this is not a good looking cover. It is super cluttered. There's a lot going on. There's nowhere for your eye to focus. And I think the price reflects that. Because this isn't a huge... Granted, don't get me wrong, it's still it's a decent book, It definitely has an okay value to it. But if you compare it to other bigger X-Men characters, or even smaller X-Men characters... for example, I don't know, it's not as big as First Gambit. And, just by going by movies, well, okay, he did get one movie, but I don't think anybody really counts that one. If anything, it counts against him. And, it's just hard for me. I think, and, there's no way we could ever do this, but if there was an alternate reality where Avengers Annual 10 was a beautiful cover, especially if it featured her on the cover, then I think this would be, could be easily double the price than what it is going for now. And again, it doesn't have to necessarily be the character on the cover. Sometimes it can just be an amazing cover or an iconic cover that still holds the value. There's another book I want to talk about here that isn't his... It's a first appearance of the character, not a first cover appearance. However, has an iconic cover regardless. And we're going to be... I have to bring this up as much as I can because I just got it and I love this thing. But my Spider-Man 150... Or not 150. I'm getting all these... Why did I say it wrong? Spider-Man 50. Now, granted, so first Kingpin. Kingpin's not on the cover. But the Spider-Man No More, very iconic cover. And I think that adds a lot of value to it. Because if you compare this to Spider-Man 51, which is his first cover appearance... An okay book, by all accounts. Definitely a good book to get. And I say okay. It's a good book. It's a good book, but in comparison, it is a very okay book. The value is definitely so much more into issue number 50. And again, I think the cover plays a part of it. It's only one issue off, and I will say 51 isn't... Although it is his first cover appearance, it's not that great of a cover. Not that it's bad. It's just nothing has super... It's nothing super shocking or anything. Not like anything wow, nothing super memorable like this cover, which I think is just... I think so many people recognize this cover, you know, and they might not recognize cover 51 immediately, or might not be able to remember what it is, and you know, it might be like you show it to them, like, oh yeah, that's what it looks like. That's right. It's a fine cover, but it's nothing that really, you know, blows your mind. That being said, I think this being the first appearance, this being just such an iconic looking book, I think that adds a lot of value into it, and I don't see 51 ever really catching up to it in this example. So this point of the video is to be that these first cover appearances can catch up in value. However, this is an example where I will fight and say I don't think it ever will happen. Now, you know, could be wrong, I don't know, but if this was a bad cover, if this was a super cluttered, messy cover, then potentially, maybe people are like, actually, you know, I'd rather have 51. Because I think at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to, is people asking, what book do I want in my collection? What book do I want on my wall? And, you know, I mean, that 50 cover is super sweet. No one's going to complain about that being on their wall. Now, I have a couple examples here as well, and we're almost done. And I'm not just showing off all the comics in my collection. We have X-Men 282 here. First cameo appearance of Bishop, but first cover appearance. His first full appearance is in 283. He's on the cover as that as well, but it's not as good of a cover. This is a really awesome looking cover. I like the way it looks a lot. That being said, this is the book that actually holds the value. 283 isn't that much. I mean, this one's, you know, kind of calmed down a little bit, but regardless, let's just say Bishop comes into a movie or whatever. This is going to be the book that, you know, stays on top as far as I can tell with the market. And again, I think the cover's just way better looking. And it is, I think people are really selective, and I think people are also scared to admit that they buy books for the cover. I don't know why. I feel like there's something weird about that. I feel like comic collectors would be like, you know, I'm in it for the big keys and first appearances and this and that or whatever. But I think the comic cover plays such a huge part into it, and it's something that a lot of people don't want to admit. I don't know if I'm wrong on that. Obviously, you have cover collectors, so people that are out there just buying like store exclusives and stuff. They don't care if it's a key or anything. I'm not talking about those people, because, and you know, it's fine. I don't care what you do. If you're collecting books that don't have any key factor to them, it's just beautiful covers, beautiful pieces of artwork, that's awesome. You do you. But I'm not specifically talking about those type of people right now. I'm talking about the people that are collecting it for you know, for the value of the book. And I don't just mean that in monetary value, but the value of what happened in the book, the significance of the book. And that being said, this is one example I could think of off the top of my head where I knew the first cover appearance was more valuable than the first full appearance. And then I have another book here that is a reprint. I don't have the real thing. And we're going to get a little controversial here. I want to talk for a moment about Hulk 181. And the dispute between whether this is Wolverine's first full appearance or not. He appears quite a bit in Hulk 180. And there's a lot of people that would say that's his first full appearance. And I think, in my opinion, you could call 180 his first full appearance and call this his second appearance with his first cover appearance, and still keep this the valuable book. I think it's this weird, people don't want to admit that it's like the big book has to be his first appearance, you know, like we can't let, you know, 180 be his first appearance, because ultimately this is the book I want on my wall. And I think it's fine if you're like, no, 180 is his first appearance, but this is the book that I want, that everyone still wants more than 180, you know? And again, I mean, it is a beautiful, obviously super iconic cover. And this one's not going anywhere. If CGC and CBCS and anybody else came out tomorrow and said, you know, we are definitively making 180 first full appearance of Wolverine, I don't think the value of this book is going anywhere. Now, it might help out 180 a little bit or something. It might, this might drop a little bit. Sure, little fluctuations, but this is still going to be the bigger book. And ultimately, this is, there's no way for me to, for 100% no, but this is all just my opinion. I don't think 181 would be going anywhere. It is still such a beautiful, just iconic piece, and I don't think it really matters where the first full appearance is. Everybody knows what's in the book, like it's not like there's a mystery of what's going on. And we can all look it up. We can all get reprints or look at pictures online or whatever, if you don't have the physical copies. And we can see what happens. And there's other situations like this too. Gambit's a little bit different. That's a distribution error. 266 got delayed or something. So I don't really want to include that. But there are other books that people argue is like, is this his first appearance or not or whatever. And this is the big one that I feel like most people talk about more often than anything else. And it's of my opinion that I don't think there's anything that could be done to make 181 not the big Wolverine book. A couple other things, I guess. Venom 3, first appearance of Knoll. Obviously, the first print is a very sought-after book, but the biggest one is the third print, which is kind of a weird one, because I feel like this is another point where people like to lie to themselves. I've seen a lot of people say that is the first cover appearance of Knoll, and it's not. There was a store exclusive, and I think number 5 or something like that also was a cover appearance of Knoll. Both came out before third print. So I don't know. I think again, it's the desirable book. No doubt about it. Hands down. I was mixing things up. It is the most beautiful Knoll cover there is. Like it's just the best one, and because of that, it's the book people want. And that being said, I think people lie to themselves, be like, yeah, that's his first cover appearance. That's why I want it. They don't want to say, man, it's just a gorgeous piece of art and I have to have it in my collection. They say, it's his first cover appearance. Of course it is. And now, granted, I know there can be a bit of confusion because it all kind of happened relatively the same time. But, this is a modern book. This isn't a book that came out 30 years ago, and we don't have a lot of really good publication of exactly when these books came out. We can look exactly when every Venom, of this new run came out. There's very hard evidence to prove that it's not his first cover appearance. So again, I think that's another one where people just don't want to admit that they're buying it because it's a pretty book. And obviously there is importance to it. But sometimes it's just the cover that you want. Another last example I'll leave off on is a book that has no key value. What's the Hulk 340? The super iconic, super homaged a million times. Wolverine with the reflection of Hulk in the claws. It's just an iconic cover. Is all there is to it, and it holds pretty decent value. And that, there's a bajillion other covers we could talk about that aren't a key in any way, but it's an iconic cover and holds value because of it. It's off the top of my head when I was making this video, one of the more expensive non-key books that I could think of that was, just a iconic cover that, so that's the one I picked. Now, granted, is there one that's more expensive? Probably. I don't know. Again, I literally, while I was getting the books together, I was like, oh yeah, I can talk about that one. So if there's, a better example, I apologize. But even if it's not, even if it's just a book that's $30 whatever dollars, $50, something like that, and is not a key, it's just a beautiful cover, I think that's significant. And I think we need to talk about that and accept it a bit more. And I don't know, maybe I'm seeing things through a weird light. Maybe there's not as many people that think that way than I think, or I don't know. Let me know how you feel about collecting, I guess, you know, in the comments, are you out there looking for, are you looking just at the key value of like what happened in the book, or does the cover play a part into your collecting? I guess if you display your books a lot, if you're buying books that you're like, man, okay, I want to put these, hanging these up on the wall, you know, sit on my shelf, whatever you're doing, I think there's going to be a lot more value into it. And I feel like, especially, I feel like with the newer collectors, I think the art plays a huge part into the decision-making process of buying a book, and the desirability. Ultimately, it's all about desirability. That what drives the price to everything. So, if I was a little rambly today, I do apologize. I was a little scattered. I just grabbed a stack of comics and I was like, we're going to talk about this. So I'd love to know what you think about it. And that's going to be it for today. I will see you all Wednesday with my comic pulls for the week. Ha ha ha!